What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.
It's likely going to be a repeated phrase throughout this whole stream, as well as this.
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
Cue that up, brother.
Yeah, and to finish it off, we're going to be feeling this by the end.
Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
I don't even like Adam Sandler movies that much.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's the good stuff.
Watching my father wear a ring, watching the deterioration, it's quite horrendous actually. It's exciting to see what effect these rings will have on us.
Yeah, so they make you freaking bonkers.
They just make you nuts.
Yeah, they make you completely and utterly insane, where 100% tax. That is absurd. That is nuts.
I guess. You know, a good responsible American government sells for 80%.
Yeah.
But the election is not for another 2 days.
That's
just to date this video.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then let's bring on Mr. White Dragon, who is probably going to be saying a lot of this.
Bleeding astronomical moron! What are you doing? I'm done. I'm broken. This thing has killed me.
Maybe, not really. I don't know. Kind of just apathetic. We'll find out.
Mm-hmm.
We'll find out.
Bill's journey through faith and the family and the circumstance test that faith to actually give him a firm choice when the chips are really down.
No!
Welcome
By the
back
way, you
to
mentioned
Inside the Rings of Power.
You mentioned something about the dwarves going insane when they put the rings on.
Oh yes, he basically makes Thorin from The Hobbit look reasonable.
You know, considering everything about these people, I'm not even shocked.
Yeah, they make it. I think Random Film Talk put it the best way.
Oh, that's where I probably put it. I'm a little late now.
Episode 6. Let's see. Let me pull that up because. Let me see. So, Melindilla's sentenced. Okay, maybe it'll be 5 actually.
Goofy as Ashton.
Welcome back to.
Let's see. Let's see.
So now we get to find out why Disa is not happy about the sudden healing of the mountain. Durin tells her that she pushed this. She is absolutely. What happened in this shows that they are no longer poor, or they're at least more willing to spend what money they have. Then,
Every coin spent, another goes to the crown.
oh no, the very thing we were just worrying about has already started happening. You know, the king has only had his ring for, what, a couple of days? Pedal faster, you fools. We need to blast through all of this boring stuff with the ring so we can get back to Nori and Poppy. I need to remember things. Also, there is taking a cut of the treasure, scooping a little off the top, if you will, and then there is this. This isn't greed. King Durin is fucking bonkers. I want to draw a distinction between crazy and fucking bonkers, because these are not the same thing. If someone is crazy, their actions may not make sense to others, but typically their actions will make sense within their own head. What crazy people do will typically make some amount of sense to them. Conversely, if someone is fucking bonkers, their actions will not make any sense to anyone, including themselves. They simply spin a wheel and do whatever the arrow points to. Let me explain to you how this works. Reggie the dwarf has a load of shinies to sell at his shop for $100 a piece. If Reggie was selling his shinies in the UK, he would need to account for the 20% VAT, or value-added tax. If his shiny costs 80 gold to mine and sell, he would be making 20 gold profit on each shiny. Once you add in the VAT, however, he would need to charge 120 gold to make the same profit, because 20% goes to the government. What King Durin has done, because he is utterly and irredeemably insane, is introduce a 100% VAT rate to Khazad-dûm. For Reggie to make a 20 gold profit, he now needs to charge 200 gold. So, okay, fine. Reggie and all of the other traders double their prices to account for the king's insanity tax. So what? Well, the problem is that that now no one can afford to buy anything. If the only goods being taxed are luxury items, such as this tuning crystal, then this means the economy of Khazad-dûm will crash extremely quickly because the traders will be unable to sell anything unless they sell at a loss. This means the traders will stop being traders, the market will disappear, and Khazad-dûm will become a slum ruled over by a dictator. If all goods are being taxed, including food, then the same thing will happen, but even quicker. And just for reference, the country with the highest VAT rate in the world is Hungary with 27%. This means that the writers of Rings of Power have absolutely no idea how taxation works, but they needed a quick and easy way to be like, look, the king's getting really greedy, but they dialed up the number from greedy to flatly psychotic. Disa then reveals that she doesn't
I don't think that was the intent for the word greedy when it came to the dwarves.
Oh. Well, yeah. Yeah, I don't think that was Tolkien. Like, Tolkien, oh. Valerian was in there, and I guess I missed him, I'm sad to say. Whoops.
Wow, what a retard.
Oh boy.
Oh, hey, yeah, Skids is here. Oh, boy.
I wonder where he's named after Skids O'Toole.
Sorry. Sorry.
He's probably like, motherfucker, you need to get me those house clips. I'll be doing it soon. If you're still in the chat.
Yeah.
I've been stuck on another project.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like fucking Bilbo Baggins right now. I'm not enough butter over too much bread at the moment.
I am thrilled to welcome back
Going
everyone's
insane.
favorite dwarven prince, Owain Arthur, and Lloyd Owen, who plays the noble Elendil. There's not a lot of crossover between you guys' characters, but it's interesting that you're both dealing with this huge family rift and societies being corrupted. How does this season feel for you, Owain?
There's the collapse, if you like, of Khazad-dûm, but also with the relationship with his father, the change that's happening to him, that we discover more as we go on, the father-son relationship.
Give me your axe. Father. Axe!
With the dwarves, that sense of commitment to your fellow dwarves and the tradition that's so strong within the dwarven community. It can be the rise or the fall of the dwarves, and also with my father as well.
Yeah. What is Prince Durin's central fear?
Frickin' ring pop.
Quite harrowing, actually, going through those motions of watching your father disappear in front of your eyes.
Oh, it would be. It would be. If it wasn't utterly frickin' bonkers. And then they completely character assassinate him even worse when he starts killing his own people to try and go for Mithril.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like they're so close to something decent.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the weirdest part of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But the problem is, they don't even understand how basic taxation works.
Yeah, neither do I. I need to like look into it a little bit more. I'm still a bit jumbled up on that whole thing.
Well, basically, there is every coin that you spend, half of everything you make goes to the government.
Yeah, that sounds all right.
I am proud of you. I am proud of you. Your desire to partner with the elves has saved our kingdom.
I obsess over this ring, and nobody can take it from me.
The rings are not for you.
This person's not being himself. I know that.
Well, the main problem with that line of thinking is the fact that he's going to give the rings to other dwarf lords. It's kind of nuts because
Isn't that part of the whole thing with him? Like the 7 dwarf lords.
Yeah, but the problem is, he doesn't send for them directly. They send a bunch of people, and then he says, "If you give me a lot of tribute, I'll give you these rings." But the major problem.
Yeah.
But by the end, they have the rings, and they haven't given them. Since in the original lore, Sauron gives them to the 9 Dwarven Lords.
So
He doesn't give them all to Durin, and then Durin disperses them. That's idiotic.
waste of time. Let's just give them out.
Yeah. I see. I was watching a different stream earlier. My mind was on a completely different subject. Bit of that weird whiplash you get, where it's like, you gotta get yourself into that particular state of mind.
Yeah.
It's like when you
more
transition between,
thought.
you just get your lines crossed. Yeah, the 100% tax, that just retardo. There's no economy after that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's basically 100% tax. Yeah, it's pretty nuts. That one line is just packed with
care
nuts.
in him, but watching that disappear is quite confusing for a son to have to deal with.
Yeah,
It's
that
very
was
interesting with the
cool drama, but the problem is it doesn't actually work.
Like, I mean, I think there's a great lesson here about, like, you can actually put good things on the page and they don't come, like, on the script page, and they don't come out in the. There's a long process from script to show. From script to screen. There's a much better way to say that. Hello?
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
Okay, no, I was on.
Yeah, you blew up my eardrums there for a second.
Is it very loud? Am I very loud?
Well, it's when you raise your voice. Like right now, you're fine, but you spoke up a little bit. I'm like, cool, peaking.
Oh, okay.
father-son thing, because it's like a reverse. So he is the son. I'm the father in my context. I've got this difficult relationship. My daughter Earian is potentially starting to move over to the opposition.
Anyone deemed loyal to the Queen Regent has been stripped of rank.
Which is hilarious, because that's the entirety of their military.
Yeah,
they didn't have a military aside from what they had in season 1.
That's the military, like that's like the one thing that enforces the rules. It doesn't make any sense.
Yep.
Whose authority?
On mine.
It's this bit, isn't it, where the personal meets the political, and how you decide where you're going to be. Loyalty to family.
That's it.
And loyalty to
I feel like
state,
if I
as it
actually
were. So
watched this
it's-
episode, I would probably just go deaf and blind because I don't want to hear any more of it. Just what I'm gathering, just the energy I'm getting here is they don't understand how like coups and shit work, or power in general.
Yeah. And just the fact that in the last one, it was Eagle shows up, and Ferris
we don't need
walks
to talk
toward
about
Eagle.
We don't need to
It's
talk
morally
about
a
that.
really difficult spot to be in.
Captain.
Thank you, Captain. Thank you, Captain.
Can you tell us a little bit about why Elendil is holding out against this new regime?
Yeah, the story that we've seen with Elendil in the first season is sort of gentle rejection of the old ways. He's just trying to keep his head down, and he gets sucked in more
Rejecting
and more
of the old
via
ways,
his
way?
relationship to
Say what?
He's saying he's rejecting the old ways. I thought he
No,
was
he's-
trying to. Am I missing something here?
No, he's saying that the rest of Numenor is rejecting the old ways.
So
This is what happens
yeah, the
when you
story
don't
that we've
watch the
seen with
show.
Elendil in the first
Yeah.
season.
Well, actually, no.
I mean, I think that's what he's saying.
No. So
Why
let's
Elendil is holding
rewatch
out
this.
against this new regime?
Yeah, the story that
The story that we see with
we've seen
Elendil.
with Elendil in the first season is sort of gentle rejection of the old ways. He's just trying to keep his head down, and he gets sucked in more and more via his relationship to the Queen.
Command us.
That's
That's very
That-
much not Elendil. Elendil
That-
is
that's not
a
right.
hardliner for the faithful.
yeah, that's like the opposite of what happens in Numenor. What happens in Numenor is that they reject, the Númenóreans turn on their ancient traditions and friendships and
They got their
dignity.
they got their fucking lines crossed there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, because they can't present old things as being good, don't you know?
Well, conservatism is bad.
Yes, that's actually like part of the poison here.
And kind of the weirdest thing is the people that are treated as the they're kind of the radical shifters in the politics are treated as the bad guys, as they should be. They're psychotic nut jobs by the end who perform human sacrifice on the regular.
Exactly. I mean, the thing is that like like our Farazan is such a there's so much potential for our Farazan as a character, and he should be a military figure. He should be. It's very odd the way they're like all like. I think Númenor really sucks. Like I've not been pleased with anything I've seen of Númenor.
Yeah, this whole thing is really just pathetic that they did that.
Together we can put this right. The Sea Guard is still loyal to you.
Considering the rules of the
very
current
loyal.
year, it's probably because of something demasculation, something like that.
That and well, one of the funny things was they basically, you remember in season 1 where there was they took her gerbs scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing that the argument that I mean, like I don't disagree with that at all, but the incoherent part of this is that part of that should like Ar-Pharazôn being a military strongman fits in line with that fear, right? It fits in line with that narrative. Him being not a military man is like a rejection of, or rather, it's an affirmation that the warrior caste should be king, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's very odd that he is like if let's say we're a bunch of hyper woke writers for this show, right? Of course, our Farazan is going to be a military man. How could he not be a military man? They're evil. Why wouldn't he be?
Yeah, but the weirdest thing is they've made him a demagogue, kind of more. If we're going to like stretch, like it looked as though they were making him almost like a Trump-esque demagogue,
sure,
who is talking to and rallying the crowd of very right-wing, highly racially prejudiced people. And I don't think I don't know if it was their. I can't tell whether or not it was their intention or whether they were just stupid.
I mean,
I'm leaning towards
one hell of a drug.
Yeah, I'm leaning to more that they are just stupid because they didn't understand that Elrond kissing Galadriel would actually cause a furor because he's her son-in-law, you idiots! And they don't understand that kissing on the lips is inherently romantic.
That's just odd.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure they don't know how humans work.
I don't know. It's weird because one of them's married with kids, and it's just weird.
Or they don't know how to write humans.
Yeah, and they also like have no idea how to write good metaphors, and everything they write sounds terrible.
Yeah.
To his queen, but he's also becoming personally loyal. Like all events in history, each drama or each occasion forces you to make a decision. The question is, when does he pull the trigger on what is essentially going to be a civil war?
How can Elendil mentally survive everything he's going through?
The good news is that he can just say, Farazon is a worse father than me because he produced Kemen.
I don't know if you're aware, but I've been promoted.
He's this privileged kid who is desperate to impress his father. He's making all the
And one major problem is Kemen is actually a really big problem in this narrative, just his mere existence, because he severely weakens Ar-Pharazôn's themes.
I feel like I don't like. I was prepared to come in here and like mention how like I want to defend the Sauron stuff, and it's the Numenor stuff that I hate. Because, like, man, this Numenor stuff sucks.
Yeah. And part of the major problem with Kemen is that he weakens our Pharazon's story going forward, because our Pharazon doesn't have an heir at all.
Yeah.
When he forcibly marries Tarmiriel, the queen, he cannot rape her and produce a kid, because that's just Tolkien, like, has said, like, in, I guess they're kind of unspoken rules, because, like, you cannot do that.
I mean, you can. I mean, you could sort of like rationalize that away as like it's the one political line he like can't cross.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he can't get away with that.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I mean, and it also plays into other ideas. Like he has no heir, he has no posterity. It feeds into his fear of death and legacy.
And so that means that Kemen is likely to die in season 3 or 4, depending on when they do the Fall of Numenor. Hopefully the show gets canceled. It probably won't because of some cost fallacy, but
yeah, exactly.
You know, at least we get to laugh and point at something.
Yeah. Yeah, he kind of was. Like, he was of the opinion that the elves were right, I guess. Or at least that the elf wasn't bad. And took the elf to the Hall of Law, was kind of her support through most of the season for reasons, because the sea is always right.
Yeah,
what?
Stupid.
You remember that line where they, the Numenorians yelled at the sea is always right.
And then I slowly walk away because they're a bunch of nut jobs.
Vicious decision.
There was always a split between the Kingsmen and the Faithful, and now it feels like that division is becoming charged. It is no longer background disagreements of politics.
It was never established in any of the season 1, you morons!
No, that's the worst part.
Dangerous.
So, Owain, can you talk about Prince Durin's confrontation with Celebrimbor? Aren't they friends? It feels like you're coming in very aggressively.
There simply cannot be a fault in your ring. Then maybe the fault's in the ringmaker. How much do you really know about this Arnevar?
He was introduced to Durin by Elrond, and therefore he is confiding in Celebrimbor, but his suspicions are right.
You're the only one in the room who's really got him, and I loved seeing that.
Although I don't think Durin...
Yeah, and he's distrustful for no reason, and yet his wife is dumber than he is. Because she's like, oh, we should get the rings. And then she abruptly has buyer's remorse when she sees that she's out of a job as a stone singer, which is really stupid and looked awful. But yeah,
we don't need to talk about that.
Yeah.
No.
Well, no. Like, did you see that? The image is freaking hilarious. You gotta see this. This is so stupid. Yeah, let me pull it up. Because it's freaking hysterical. Like, it is so bad. It's hilarious.
We did this last time.
Yeah, but yeah, look at this.
The trolls, the real trolls.
And look, like, apparently her voice has the power to cause cave-ins just by singing.
Well, I mean, she is that shit, so, you know, it makes sense.
Yeah, and apparently it also calls bats or something. Because that's how they defend. It's so stupid.
Exactly who he is, but he knows there's something fishy. There's something not right about him.
Swear to me that you will never wear one of those rings.
The rings.
I swear it.
As yourselves, would you keep the rings if you came into contact with them?
If I knew that no good can actually come of it, then no, I don't think so. I don't think I would.
I think I would keep hold of it because I think that's the power of the ring.
Wow.
You'd like to think that you wouldn't, but none of us have been put in any circumstance which is really that life and death, and so you just don't know.
You'd keep it there just in case.
Just in case.
Just in case.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you.
Honestly,
Thank you.
Thank you.
honestly,
Today we've been shooting where Mirdania has to go into a shadow realm.
I'm a puppeteer doing some object manipulation to make it look like somebody's holding the object.
Okay, cut.
Here we are again with JD Payne and Patrick McKay.
oh, finally,
Hi, everyone.
the jackasses themselves.
In this episode,
Showrunners and
we're
executive
World
producers.
Cup, where Mirdania, having put on the ring, goes into this other realm.
We know that there are some rings in Middle-earth that make you invisible. This is them stumbling across that in like
Ugh.
lab accident form. And when you're in the unseen world, you see things from the sort of spiritual dimension.
At first I thought it was the forge burning, but it wasn't. Its skin was made of flames.
She has seen that there is a demon hiding amongst them. And Anatar is saying, well, Celebrimbor is, really turning a bad way. Well, and that's Sauron's...
I hate these two. What they just said was so insanely stupid.
I thought the whole like invisibility was like this spirit realm thing was like a I don't really know. I don't even know if that's just like a movie thing.
Yeah.
MO just over and over again is he takes people's fear and hatred of him and uses it in order to twist them to get them.
Well, this.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Huh?
That's
Wait,
not
that's
how
not-
Sauron operates. Sauron is...
It's not really your shtick.
No, his shtick is he's like Lord Farquaad.
Farquaad?
That's a little... It's a little demeaning, but
Yes.
sure, there's something there.
So he wants a perfect world and believes that he is the only person who can do that.
Yeah, he wants a world without friction, is how it's sort of best phrased.
Yeah. And so that's why I compare him to Lord Farquaad, because Farquaad's the comedy version of this kind of character, where Farquaad just wants, I will have order, I will have perfection. That's what Sauron wants. And to a certain extent, he believes that he can do a better job than God. And
Yes. Yeah, that's actually.
and so that's his character. He doesn't use
Sauron's MO just over and over again is he takes people's...
He does not do that. He deceives them in a fair form. This is a major misunderstanding of the character. Sorry, go for it.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah, no, it is not. Yeah, that's not. Like, he's not fucking Batman. Like he uses people's desire for. Obviously, he can manipulate. Base corruption like greed and all that. And the implication of the Nazgul is that some of them were just bad eggs that he corrupted, but he uses people's desire for good against them, if anything, or at least their desire for control. Right? Like this is, he doesn't directly tempt Boromir, but Boromir is driven insane by his desire to save Gondor. Right? The elves are manipulated by their desire to preserve their status in Middle-earth. Like this is what Tolkien apparently calls the second fall of the elves. And it's the whole arc of the relation between the One Ring and the Three Rings. Sauron manipulation is built around. It's built around that kind of stuff, not like making people hate him. Like that's just weird. That's just an odd way to say this. Like this is like I don't know who else to think of, but like this makes me think of Batman. Like he wants people to act superstitiously about him because it helps us. Like no, he wants people to think that he is like the king of the planet and that he is going to be the best guy ever.
Yeah, and a major problem with this whole thing is that he should not be allowing any of the people to put on the rings because they are seeing him, and the fact that Mirdania is dumb allows him to foist off the blame onto Celebrimbor and say, "Oh, the weird, scary thing you saw, it was Celebrimbor. It wasn't me." It's just like, that is insanely lucky.
How convenient.
Fear and hatred of him, and uses it in order to twist them to get them to do what he wants.
He's kind of flirting with her. A little
The
bit.
hell does he mean by that?
Yeah, there's an
Sorry,
interesting
I left.
we'll kind of see where it goes.
We'll see
yes,
how it goes. I can't wait to see if we see more of the unseen world. Next week on Inside the Rings of Power, we'll have director Senna Homry with us again, plus legendary composer Bear McCreary on the show. The stars are aligning in ways that spell out.
Oh
major
no, they
twists
dragged
of fate
him
for our
into this mess.
Yeah, they dragged Bear McCreary into this mess. Yeah.
Oh dear God.
Yeah.
We're gonna go listen to that last performance, and then we're gonna come back and do it again, and again, and again. I think we've got it.
This season for me is a test of one's faith. Whatever happens, I accept.
Fucking armor looks
That's
ridiculous.
Yeah. Somehow, she goes into the water and is pulled down by this Cthulhu-looking monster.
Welcome back to Inside the Rings of Power.
And she doesn't die.
I
Just
can't.
goes right out of the water.
I can't. Like the Numenor stuff is like just
We're
like
joined by
atrocious.
Yeah.
composer Bear McCreary and
I was also like, I also think that the whole thing with Sauron and Celebrimbor is mostly exploring the fact that Celebrimbor is an idiot. That is the main thrust of the Celebrimbor stuff. And also it doesn't really take advantage of some of Sauron's illusion powers that he has demonstrated to have, because he actually there's a flaw in the Matrix with one of the scenes, and it's really frustrating. And it's just, so Sauron's an idiot who left an accidental glitch in the Matrix of this mouse that was running repeatedly around the workshop over and over again.
I appreciate that they have a hard needle to thread with Sauron and the whole like the time compression exact, because he preys on their weakness to make the one ring, and then he kind of just like he makes another ring in secret, right? It's kind of hard to make that, like, that's like 60 minutes, not like a season and a half, but they're not doing it well.
Yeah.
So this is what your guys' reaction might have been. Just this theme.
Yeah.
By the way, it was made by Bear McCreary, by the way.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah, so Bear McCreary is a really talented composer by all accounts. I haven't listened to much of his work, and I think that this is probably his laziest work.
Yeah, the ones I really know him for is his God of War 2018 and Ragnarok OSTs.
Mm-hmm.
Probably others, but I haven't put the name to the music yet. All right. Do the thing.
Director Senna Homry.
Thank you.
Fans are 6 episodes in with only 2 left before the end of season 2. What are your favorite
God.
Middle Earth locations to play in?
Gosh, I love all of Middle Earth, so it's like really hard. But I will say this: like, I really enjoyed
shut the fuck
playing
up,
in
bitch.
Ajar's world with the orcs. But also, I thought introducing the world of the Stores and how Nori and Poppy.
No, we're not going here. No, anything to do with the hard fuck you.
And also, the thing about the Stores is, one of them gives her a little bit of pushback, and then she's like, "I'm gonna leave you out to die." And it's like, what? And only after she finds out, oh, so you were part of us originally. Oh, you're okay. And it's like a dime, and it's so annoying. And because of this, because they call the stranger, Discount Gandalf, Grand Elf, and because of that, he decides that's my name, Gandalf. That's what they're going to call me.
That's the origin of his name.
And it's like, sod off.
Got to see others living differently than themselves. It was just fun all around.
There's a lot of searching for home, and that's the theme that's kind of carried on from season 1 into season 2.
Oh, crap. Bull. That is bull. The Harfoots are psychotic murderers.
This is nonsense. This is nonsense.
I feel a purge coming into my fucking veins right now.
Yeah. Yeah, they add so much to the story and take none of their additions remotely seriously. I agree. Stores in ruin away from wonder.
Barnacles.
Yeah, they were utterly useless. This whole season with the stores was completely pointless. The only thing we had was Discount Gandalf going up against Discount Saruman, or Rasputin, as people call him, because he looks like Rasputin.
And so then coming into the store village, beginning to understand that is the home that we kind of could have had, but we never got.
The Harfoots aren't lost, they just don't actually have a home. It's not about finding what is already out there.
What?
Well, here's the what do you call this then? What they're living in? And why would they leave? It seems like it's relatively nice. It's just so dumb. And eventually it's going to be called the Shire.
How do you're not lost, but you don't have a home, but they're trying to find about I need to hear them out completely. This sounds like alphabet soup to me.
Them. It's about creating it and building it. And this is a really big realization she has in this season.
Balloon has never been adapted to the screen, so I brought in a Bulgarian women's choir, which is the coolest sound ever.
Yeah, I wonder how many times does that in a month.
It almost sounds like a variation of the Elden Ring theme, almost.
That, and it kind of sounds a little bit like, have either of you watched Brother Bear?
No.
Okay, sure. Bring on some Phil Collins here.
Not that bit. I like Phil Collins, but the best part of it is they actually, because for the Inuit stuff and for just kind of the orchestral stuff, they brought in a Bulgarian women's choir for it, and that's just what that makes me think of.
Cut to Rune, and you hear these women singing and this vibrato that's so alien and strange and beautiful and evocative. That's the Bulgarian women's choir. So that was a blast.
Bear, do you have any settings that speak to you more than others?
I mean, I'm like a kid in a candy
You know what
store
does that
getting to write
better?
music for middle.
The opening soundtrack for Dark Souls 3, the main menu theme.
Yeah, Dark Souls 3 was great. Yeah, with its music.
It's me pumped every time I hear that main theme. I'm like, I'm ready, boys.
When I sat down to write music for the dwarves, it happened so fast. I felt like it must be in my DNA.
Right
I feel just the look of things. You're a little more elvish, I have to say, with the hair. But
That works too. That can totally work. And I'm just gonna get the ears.
Yeah, get it going. So, are there any little?
Well, like, why is this so vapid?
You think they're really gonna talk about substance in this?
Yeah.
You're high as a fucking kite.
Easter eggs that you've dropped in this season?
I'm always littering Easter eggs in my music. One of the great things about establishing a theme, people get to know it. That means they know when something is amiss. One of the things I love about Sauron's scenes is I score him from his own perspective. When we're in his head, he's not the antagonist of his story, he's the protagonist. There are many places where his theme takes on a very wise, ethereal, divine, peaceful tenor. And I think it's a cool way of subliminally telling the audience something's amiss here.
Yeah.
How fares your progress?
When he's a dangerous character, and we're like, ooh, I kind of like what he's up to.
I
And that's like
Did they ever try? Because I'm just purely thinking about the music here. Did they ever try to tie it into his theme in the movies?
Not really, no.
Oh, that's so gay.
Yeah, that's a very good question. That will never be answered. Next one.
Oh yeah, I'm just thinking like, I'm not even listening to what they have to say about the narratives. I don't really care. I was just thinking about the music.
Yeah.
You seduce us with the music,
Yes,
with Anatar.
That's the danger,
Yeah.
is that he is so seductive.
Yes.
And one of the things I love about the sparring matches between Celebrimbor and Anatar.
What sparring matches? He rolls over like a dog.
The one we made up in our heads. Don't you know headcanons? It's very strong with these ones.
I hate
Now, what was the anomaly fucking JJ plagiarisms thing? It was I forgot the word they were using. Inference, and they use inference in good conjunction with headcanon. Therefore, we concocted this narrative that didn't exist.
Yeah, kinda.
Vulnerability that makes it relatable.
I assure you, I have the affairs of the city well in hand.
Clack.
I can say that for myself. You belong in here, friend. I believe I've had quite enough of telling me where I belong.
And the vulnerability with Celebrimbor, it's not even his ego. He wants to do something good, and the score warms him up. But what it's really doing, it's opening up for the body blow.
Yeah.
Right? Because in Anatar, it's like, there's the weak spot,
True.
spear goes in, he's hooked.
And there is, just to pop in on, there is that marriage between music and camera movement when we have Anatar outside and it's like daytime. When I read the scene, I could see this move around Anatar as a turn from day to night. And then it like followed him and then we went into slow motion and I was like,
Yeah, it's a creative camera move, but
like,
it's...
oh, this is going to be one of those epic moments for Sauron.
Yeah, but the problem is it is built on bull! So, sorry to get so angry, I'm just like, this is constructed of bull crap, and it's so frustrating.
You know, it would have been nice to do like a low motif of the theme from Sauron. In that, they probably didn't, because they didn't even remotely touch the fucking theme from the movies.
Yeah.
From what I hear.
I think that they are, well, here's the problem. They're trying to rip off moments from the movies a lot. Like when,
it's
like I showed you yesterday,
actually,
last time, where he gets Narsil, and the drawing of the sword is almost exactly the same.
Oh, fuck off with that shit. What I was thinking is, remember the Obi-Wan show and how it had like no music from like the prequels or anything?
Yeah.
And you're like, why isn't Darth Vader's fucking theme ever, not even a low motif, ever played ever? Or the Battle of the Heroes ever played ever? Not even hinted at in that fucking show.
Yeah.
Moment, and this was
I
JD.
knew it.
JD Payne thought.
Because at least they could have done a Fallout
So
show
Sauron
thing where they
walks
could have
to
made
the
it
parapet,
feel
he
like
kind of raises
it.
his hands,
Yes.
and JD goes, "What if he's like an orchestra conductor? What if you like heard the orchestra like tuning up?" And I was like, "You mean literally?" So every day of orchestral recording, we've been recording the orchestra tuning up. On top of the score, when he does this,
Yes.
you're going to hear the orchestra going from this dissonant, out of tune cluster into this unison texture. It's literally telling you he has conducted the events that are unfolding.
I honestly really hate this because it's actually a lot. Because one, it's dumb. Two, it's a lie. Because Sauron is actually doing, like, he manipulated Adar somehow to come north to Eregion with an army of orcs. Even though that is counterintuitive to his plan. It is absurd.
I don't know the plan at all.
Well, basically, so here's how it goes. He goes in as Halbrand, tells Adar, Sauron is in Eregion, come get him. Then he leaves, goes to Eregion, claims to be an agent of the Valar, talks to Celebrimbor, and forges the rings, and then as the 9 rings for men are being forged, the orc army arrives. And
What?
he has to create an illusion around Celebrimbor that makes him think that all is well and that nothing is bad is going on.
What's the purpose of that?
Yeah, it's really not.
Just so he can kill Adar and control the orcs. But the problem is the orcs seem to have free will because they Julius Caesared Sauron at the beginning of the show. Like Sauron, so Adar is about to crown Sauron with Morgoth's crown. Then he reverses it and stabs Sauron with Morgoth's crown.
Yeah, we don't need to talk about that. I don't want to even think about that fucking bit. That was okay.
And then Sauron becomes goop.
Goop.
Yeah, literal.
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah, I remember that. That was so gay. That's not how all that were. These people are just faggots.
He just turns into the Venom symbiote and starts eating mice and bugs and stuff and starts clambering out. And it looks kind of like a Dr. Seuss character as he flops down the mountain.
Oh my
god. It's so funny.
Massive faggotry all around. It sounds nothing like a Sauron thing
Steno,
would be.
tell us about Muriel's Trial by Abyss. I heard that there were some very challenging conditions under which you shot this.
Well, Trial by Abyss was a big feat. To do anything with such ambition requires communicating with the team. We have such a great team on the show.
It's a little hard because we're working with the elements and weather. It was challenging yesterday because it was completely wavy and the tide was in. So now it's like baby bath water and very safe. So when you're shooting water shots in like raw locations like this one, you can't really take the actor and throw them in the deep sea. So we go into a tank, which we did at Pinewood, and we do all the elements that we can work with her slowly, like close-ups underwater.
Ready and 4, 3, 2, 1, and go.
When everyone talks about this show, including you two, it's
it was so
the joyful
difficult.
spirit of artistry and creativity just
No.
What? Well, hold up. Wait a second. Rewind that shit. I was listening to something better. Sorry.
Okay.
including you two. It's the joyful spirit of artistry and creativity just abounds. I could talk to you each for hours more, but we have to go. Thank you so
Yeah, this means bugger all. Moving on.
Yeah, I'm just like.
I remember that bit. That it was like he was like celebrating like the titty milk or something.
Yeah,
you get to watch titty milk or something like that. It's like,
No,
oh my
it was-
god.
No, it's actually worse. It was my favorite additions to this whole series.
Oh god.
and the giant alien cow thing that Luke milks is one of my favorate additions to this whole
Oh,
series.
come
And if you
on,
don't
man.
like it, no offense, then you have boring taste, and I don't want to be friends with you.
Oh my god, the horror. Man, the existential nightmare that must be these people's minds.
Yeah.
so much for being here, and thank you for your time and your artistry. Thank you.
Thank you.
The end of episode 6 is the beginning of a major siege on Eregion. We'll be here to take you inside the action with an incredible packed lineup of guests, including a couple of our favorite elves and the leader of the orcs. We'll see you next week after the next episode of The Rings of Power.
Nothing else matters.
Hey, Dunn, stop what you're doing real quick.
Okay.
I have to show you this. I actually found this edit, and kind of like what I was talking about.
Okay.
You can do it.
All right, let me pull it up.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, that actually sounds really cool.
I know. It's like it's going straight into my fucking veins.
Yeah, that's so awesome. Okay, I'm saving that. I'm saving that to my music for later. That's good. Yeah, that is so awesome. That is way good.
Just like imagine that one scene we just saw, and then like it turns around the camera, everything's on fire, and it starts playing that.
Yeah, that would have been great.
Uh,
The orcs have traveled from Mordor to Eregion. They're just outside the city, and they're preparing for a huge battle to get to South.
And yet they have little baby orcs that they apparently care about.
Fuck off.
Like, as opposed to they're kind of like animals, and they don't have a nuclear family. They just have like massive birthing units. They doubt it. They may have like trace their lineage, I suppose. But
What's your pet?
Sorry, go for it.
What's your pet? You know?
Yeah. Yeah, true.
What?
In just a bit, Morfydd Clark, Robert Aramayo, and Sam Hazeldy will tell us what it was like for them as this hugely pivotal episode played out. But first, I'm excited to welcome Rings of Power director Charlotte Brandstrom, second unit director Vic Armstrong, and VFX supervisor Jason Smith. This is such a major episode. It feels like a huge event movie, really. How did you feel when you...
A train wreck. Visual representation of a train wreck. Honestly, White, I think it might be worse than the Battle of Winterfell.
You know, considering the culture shit going on, it might actually be.
Yeah, like because you have
Game of Thrones season 8, the episode 3 was just brain rot retarded, but it had nothing to do with like woke culture and anything like that.
Yeah, it was just the fact that the
it was literally
were completely incompetent.
It was just really, it was really just really stupid, and that was it, really.
Mm-hmm. And at least while Game of Thrones had stupid battle tactics, it doesn't have physics breaking crap in it like what they have in Rings of Power.
Care to bet? I mean, it doesn't have as much, but it has stupid physics breaking. Don't forget the fucking the thing I'm based that my PFP is based on, the fucking exploding rocks, and then not really.
So the reason why I say that the physics of this episode is worse is because while the catapults are dumb where they are placed, they aren't howitzer tank artillery hitting a mountain and causing an avalanche that is powerful enough to dam a river that's about the size of the Mississippi.
I actually believe if they had more seasons, they probably would have done something similar. I mean, we have fire-breathing dragons that have explosive TNT breath.
Yeah, true. Admittedly, most of that is mainly because of the incompetence of the writers, where they color corrected the wildfire that they were originally planning to use. And they actually failed to fully color correct all of it.
Yeah, I remember that.
And also, like, when you notice it's going from inside of the houses outward into the streets. It's not actually spreading out. It's not coming from the dragon or spreading outward from the dragon. It's coming from inside of the buildings. They just color keyed it to not be green. That's hilarious.
We're seeing it put together, Charlotte.
We were cutting it together a little bit every day, so in pieces. So working together with Vic, we could actually compare what we had done. And then in the end, when we saw the whole thing, because there is a lot of action. Action can be very emotional.
Yeah.
And it's important to work with people, I think, that have the same feeling that you have when you watch something and when you see something, when you direct something. And I think
easily emotionally manipulated morons who don't understand that what they're making is crap. It makes no sense and is utterly freaking stupid.
we're really on the same wavelengths with Vic and Jason, and we really understand each other.
I think we both looked at this. It's not a TV series. This is a movie. We make movies. Can you get closer to it, Stephen?
Whatever. Moving on.
Now, Jason, what is your role in developing this?
I think my job is really just to understand the vision that Charlotte and Vic have, and really try to understand the visual storytelling that's being used, and then embrace kind of the epic quality of it.
We could have.
You know what the most humoring, funny thing I'm thinking about in my head? Just picture this like multiverse thing where like the Sauron from the books or the movies just like comes into this particular universe and just starts wiping the floor with the fucking TV show version other.
Oh, that would be so awesome.
It would be like the
Have
orcs
the
would be like, "Oh, we're gonna stab you again." They get close, they immediately just get set on fire.
Horse charge. The horse are coming in. The first charge. Coming in from over there. They're
Right.
going to come horses.
Yep.
They're 200 elves coming in on the horseback. You only get 20 from me though.
Okay. I have 180, I think,
So
waiting
you
to
can
come in.
like, prepare the 100, extra 180.
I can't think of another
so
show.
here's this
that
bit
had, over
that's
1,200 full
hilarious.
facial prosthetic applications, and they're all characters. They're all different. They're all designed.
You know, I was there one day.
There's a bit that's really funny where the whole cavalry charge just stops like 5 feet away from the orcs because they pull out Galadriel, who's been their hostage.
The set, and my daughter's a stunt woman. She's involved in the show. And
wow.
I was setting things up, and my daughter spoke to me, and I turned. I went, "Geez!" This ugly orc with all drool coming out of its
That's
mouth.
your daughter?
That's my daughter. I'd been walking past her all day long. I didn't recognize her
didn't know
until
it
she
was her?
spoke. Scared the life out of me.
So Vic, this is a major set piece also as a character for Robert Aramayo. How did Robert rise to the occasion for this?
He literally rose to the occasion because he wasn't a horseman, and he hadn't done a lot of fighting or anything. We started him walking, trotting, and galloping, literally, and had him galloping
From
through at the
zero.
end from zero. And I was very proud of him, and he was so proud of himself as well.
What was the most ambitious part,
And
VFX
also
wise,
the
of this
horse
episode?
is apparently superhuman because it kicks an orc onto a branch. It's freaking hilarious.
So for you, Jason.
The troll. I look at our
the
creatures,
troll
they have to be
looks
real
terrible.
breathing people. Like, how is this individual a little bit different? And so I think the answer is that I know who that guy is.
Just quick fire. What was your favorite moment of the episode?
My very favorite moment is probably the ending. We have Elrond, we have Adar, we have Arondir, we have the king, and they're all there together, and we know that they're about to lose. It's a very strong moment.
The best
No, it's
part
not.
of 7 for me was the charge. For this one, I wanted to get the cameras in amongst the horses as much as I can and get different angles, different camera positions. It's the biggest stunt ever.
Yeah. Jason, what's your favorite moment?
I would have to say, with the troll, he just reaches down and grabs 2 orcs and hoists them up in the air and just holds them kind of like a coat jacket. And then he starts just grinning, and you can see that he's looking up at the guys who are firing arrows and just saying, "Yeah, how do you like this?"
It was an absolutely incredible
That's
episode in a
pathetic.
wonderful season. So I can't wait to see what's in the future. Thank you so much for sitting down with me. You should have just kept charging your.
If she speaks again, cut out her tongue.
So this is the orc quill, quite different to kind of the glory of Lyndon, and she's finding herself in situations she wouldn't have expected, in situations which really doesn't.
She hides really effectively, with just the equivalent of a Jedi cape.
Belong.
My next guests need no introduction, but here it is anyway. Welcome Mortis Clark, Robert Aramayo, and Sam Hazeldine. We just talked to Charlotte, Vic, and Jason about this episode already. Can you talk about working with them?
It's amazing working with them as a team. They all bring their very specific, very brilliantly kind of crafted expertise, and so you feel very kind of cradled by being looked after by all of them.
Vic, I love because he knows when to push you, and you know, especially in certain areas when it comes to stunts and stuff like that. You know?
Yeah, he said that he pushed you really hard in the horseback riding. And
He did. He had me riding through tree lines and stuff like that. And I remember once he came up to me and was like, when you set off, just be careful because if you lean a little bit to your right, you're going to hit that tree.
That is not what you want to hear. That is not what you want to hear. Sam, this is your first season on the show. Adar is both father and commander of the orcs. Can you talk about the complexity there?
Yeah, well, he does allude to that at one point. He says that, we need to destroy Sauron at any cost, which means that he's sort of resolved to lose a lot of his children, which is completely anti what he's aiming for in the first place.
I'm sorry, what? Can you rewind that again?
Okay, so.
Point, he says that, we need to destroy Sauron at any cost, which means that he's sort of resolved to lose a lot of his children, which is completely anti what he's aiming for in the first place.
I love how the actors are pointing out the fact that there's awful contradictions in the writing and the characterization here. They just don't realize it.
This is modern Hollywood. Do you think they know anything about self-awareness?
Yeah. Oh man. And I think that part of it is kind of funny that Morford Clark, she seems like she is a very, very brittle woman. And the reason why I say that is because she was apparently needing a therapist when just a bunch of the extras would charge at her.
Come on.
And it was like she was having like a panic attack or something along those lines. Like she would have to like take long breaks and have to center herself. It was just like,
why though? Why though? Why?
Like
an actor, like you know, like it's all fake. It's the whole point of it.
There's also the kind of the matter of like that is causing you a panic attack. How do you function in your own life? How do you function? Like, have you never like roughhoused with other kids? What is wrong with you?
What is this?
And more fit, Galadriel's really going through a lot this season.
Yeah, I think she feels so guilty because she clearly messed up kind of monumentally. It's very kind of...
And yet the show does not understand how badly she screwed up. She doesn't understand how bad, like, how awful of a human being Galadriel, the show version of Galadriel, is. It's hilarious. The lack of self-awareness is freaking astonishing.
sobering for her to be around Elrond because he knows her so well and knows all her secrets and kind of knows the depths of her mistake and betrayal, really.
Well, yeah, her actions in season 1 really caused a rift between you two.
I think with the two of them, it runs so deep, the connection between them, that it sort of feels undeniable. It's a love, really. The bond is really strong.
The ring for Galadriel's life. What is it to be?
Sam, what about Adar and Galadriel? Like, this is a very complicated relationship. She's your prisoner. There's a lot of distrust. How do you describe the dynamic between you guys?
I mean, there's a respect there from Adar, and I think there's a need,
That's not in
for
there.
respect from her.
Is also nowhere to be found in this film.
That's not in there. It's so dumb. I'm just
Because Adar was once an elf, I imagine that when he was an elf, he had a hunger for status that he felt he didn't have, and he wants to be respected. And Galadriel is, very important in that hierarchy, and so to gain her respect would be a huge thing for him. But he can't trust her because he knows that the elves ultimately want to wipe out Bjork.
And you feel that.
So gay.
And also, well, on paper, that sounds like that would be an interesting thing. But again, I have
If it wasn't Tolkien.
Yeah,
that's
it's
the biggest
definitely
thing.
not Tolkien. That is definitely not Tolkien. Yeah, she's never punished. Yeah, and like again,
Is also nowhere to be found in this film.
Oh, you really need to balance that audio.
Probably. And I just have to say, like, to these
But
people,
you're fucking wrong! You're so fucking wrong! You're wrong! You're lying!
Yeah. Let's keep going.
So we have to talk about the kiss. Because
Oh,
as an audience
dear
member, when you went in to
gosh.
kiss her, I was like, wait, what? What? And then
What?
the look on your face, like, did that just happen? What are you up to, buddy? It made me laugh out loud.
Oh, great.
Fucking women and their fucking fetishes.
Yeah, it's weird, especially because she's his future mother-in-law.
If they're women, they only really care about fucking sexual shit.
There's also the funny thing of not even sexual shit stuff, like shipping stuff. It's weird. This
I
is the
kind of
setup
see
of-
those as hand to hand. Maybe I should be a little bit more particular.
Yeah, since like girls care more about like relationship stuff, but guys tend to care a little bit more about sex on average. Kind of in the same way, like there's like men tend to be like more susceptible to visual arousal, while women it's more touch related. It's kind of just a difference between the two, like just how the individual brains function. So, and just with this, it's just weird because a guy kissing his future mother-in-law and then eventually having sex with her daughter after saying, "I kissed your mom." This is weird. You know? It seems like it would be the setup for some kind of porn.
Oh, okay, this guy's smoking fucking something. I was reading the comments in that music OST, and like the visuals were amazing. It's just the writing that could have been a little better. It wasn't that bad. Like, fuck off.
Man.
Are you sure about that?
Witless lemmings. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, true.
Good. Yeah, he's definitely being bolder than she'd expect.
Yeah.
She is a little shocked.
Yeah.
What exactly are you doing when you kiss
It's the
her?
key, isn't it?
He's giving her a little pin.
You tidal-haired, flowery-tongued flagpole.
Tidal-head?
Mm-hmm. You got some sand coming here.
You got some sand coming.
What?
It makes no. I don't know how.
Tidal-head?
Mm-hmm. You got some sand coming.
Damn. Sorry, this isn't Anakin. This doesn't work around here.
Yeah, it's just like these writers have terrible metaphors.
I don't even know what the hell he even got that. Like, what is that even from? What does he mean?
He made that up. I think it's just because they're dwarves. They've got Earth metaphors, and so it's like
Oh, fuck
you've
off.
got
These
some...
people suck.
Yeah, it's like you got some balls coming here, but in this case, it's you got some sand coming here. I think that you could feasibly just pick apart every single piece of dialogue and talk about why this is empirically awful and stupid. It makes no sense. Like salt from a table. No, because John Borman's script is more entertaining than this. It is technically dumber, but they have not yet taken anything from this, mainly because Galadriel doesn't actually have sex with Frodo. Odo in this show. And they haven't gotten to that level of parody or to have Pippin in a jester outfit. They haven't gone full-blown absurd ridiculous with this show. They are unintentionally funny, but yeah, it's mainly because they are so stoic and po-faced about this whole thing that they don't understand that what they're saying is absolutely cretinous and stupid. Fair enough. Yeah. Yeah. It's so frustrating.
It's just a joy.
Robert, your friendship with Prince Durin is such a fan favorite, and this is the episode that
because
kind of crushes that.
And the rough thing about this is that Elrond actually breaks the show in the first season. Like, he is one of the worst characters, and even though it's kind of surface level okay watching these two actors play off each other, the character writing around Elrond is so bad that he ruins everything around him. Same with
it's the
Sauron.
ultimate devastation because he knows he can't win.
Yeah.
You know, but if he can hold them off for just long enough, he doesn't doubt for a second that Durin is on his way.
Yeah.
So when he doesn't, it's just ultimate devastation.
Yeah. Well, it was a truly stunning episode. Thank you so much for being here. I cannot wait to see how the season ends. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm joined here by JD Payne and Patrick McKay, showrunners and master world builders for The Rings of Power Season 2.
How much does she have to get paid to say that?
Yeah, I'm just... I have to...
But you're fucking wrong! You're so fucking wrong! You're wrong! You're lying!
Yeah, and also
that can't... You can't... Okay, go on. It has to be a punchline of a joke. Like, he can't seriously freaking say this.
I just want to thank you. This is the most monumental episode of television I think I've ever seen. You have...
bull! Battle of the Bastards was better than this, and Battle of the Bastards was really bad. Blackwater was better than this.
That's insulting to Blackwater. Shut up.
taken on this incredible
You should
journey
say
so far.
you should say the White Hunt and the Battle for Winterfell was better than this.
There are a couple of Seinfeld episodes that are probably better than this.
Tell us about this episode.
We really wanted to find a fresh approach. We didn't want it to feel like, the masses of armies crashing together that you've seen
All
before.
right, I'm willing to
we
go
wanted
there.
to play up the psychological.
A couple of battle scenes from the Halo show were better than this.
Yeah, at least the battles in the Halo show didn't have like the Ravager, which is basically just a reverse ballista that's designed to rip rocks out of a wall. Like, that's not how sapping a wall works, you idiots. Promotion to chief. Some clowns.
Thriller we've been building all season, and starting the episode out where for Celebrimbor it's a perfect day,
which is so chilling.
He's isolated in the mind prison, but the audience knows something more is going on, and then you're dropped into, oh my god, the city's been under siege for weeks, and bringing that terror.
What? That was not communicated in the episode, and that makes him even dumber. And also calls into a lot of questions about Sauron's mind prison. Is he warping time and space around Celebrimbor to make it seem like time is going slower? What is that? I have so many questions, many of which will probably never be answered.
Element into it, we felt was a very fresh approach to something like this that we hadn't seen before. And we also wanted to.
Just because you haven't seen it before doesn't mean you should. You got any thoughts, White?
I'm sorry, I was listening to better things. What can we redo that again? It's hard for me to stay focused on this gibberish.
Play up the psychological thriller we've been building all season, and starting the episode out where for Celebrimbor it's a perfect day.
Psychological. What the fuck are you talking about, mate?
Yeah, where he's been messing with Celebrimbor's mind throughout the whole season, and
that makes it a psychological thriller.
I guess so.
Which is so chilling.
He's isolated in the mind prison, but the audience knows something more is going on, and then you're dropped into, oh my god, the city's been under siege for weeks, and bringing that character element into it, we felt was a very fresh approach to something like this that we hadn't seen before. And we also wanted to play with audience expectations. The sun's going to rise, and then someone's going to charge over the hill and is going to save us. The fact that this one, almost goes there, and the sun rises, and you think that maybe we're going to go there, and then it doesn't happen.
Next week.
I don't know what the fuck he's talking about.
He basically says we wanted to subvert audience expectations by using more words.
Go, Ryan Johnson.
Let's go.
Go, Ryan Johnson. Weeks. They just arrived in the last episode. Yeah, good point.
This man's writing career just needs to go suck a fucking tailpipe.
Yeah, it's so stupid.
Is the season 2 finale? Do you want to hint to anything?
7 is this epic battle, psychological warfare, all the character pieces coming together.
Yeah, like take a look at how many
psychological warfare.
Take a look at how many elves are left out of the massive army of elves that came in to help.
Yeah, just giant CG fest. Woo.
Well, not even that. And kind of the funniest bit is there are literally no stakes in this battle because all that they are doing, they are fighting in this giant mud pit that's been formed by the dam. Even though the water should just break through, it doesn't dry out like this. And they're just fighting. There are no clear goals or stakes for anything in this episode.
Well, yeah, I guess fucking Battle of Winterfell does have this one beat.
Yeah, and because the orcs want to go in there and root Sauron out. And technically the elves want the same thing. And yet they kind of start fighting because they don't want the orcs in there. But they don't negotiate anything. They don't say, hey, Sauron's in there. We need to get him out. It's so weird. Like, at least in the Battle of Winterfell, the motivation for the whites is it's lame and lazy, but at least there's something.
I was just thinking about that. Like, all the fucking Night King really had to do was just one-time strafe the fucking the winds guard the garden, and that'll be it. It'll be Joe over.
Yeah, it would.
I'm just okay.
Yeah, Yeah, that's pretty bad.
All the character pieces coming together. 8, I think our hope is to go underneath it. It becomes quite emotional.
I can't wait, and yet I'm scared to watch. So I guess we'll talk about it next week.
Absolutely.
Next week is the...
I was scared to watch it, but only because I was like, how dumb are they going to get? It wasn't a matter of I actually care about these characters. It was more, this is going to be so trash. I am so excited.
And we do like watching like really awful helicopter crashes.
Yeah. This is a pretty impressive car
finale
wreck.
of this unbelievable season. We'll be
I do
joined
have
again by
another car wreck we can probably watch privately.
Sure. All right, and now the final episode.
Dragonlord's motives are honourable. They are. Had he stopped and thought about it, had he just kept himself in check? But ultimately, tragedy is when he realizes it's too late to redeem himself.
He sees him as a means to an end. But I think there's also something incredibly inspiring about Celebrimbor, something that lights the fire within Anatar.
Welcome back for an extra special finale episode of Inside the Rings of Power.
No,
and
I
I'm
don't
thrilled
think
to be
I
joined by the Rings of Power showrunners J.D. Payne and Patrick McCain. Take us back to the beginning of the series. Before you even started shooting season 1, how much of season 2 was already planned out?
Season 2 was always going to end with the destruction of Eregion. That was very, very early. Galadriel and Sauron having a reunion and a confrontation properly as, like, hero and villain who was there for a very long time.
Oh, man. That is...
He starts using the sword that's crowned as a parrying weapon. It's freaking hilarious. It's so stupid.
It's not how that would
Earlier
work.
version of the story where Adar was going to be killed earlier
Easily
on. But
disengaged from
Simon
that.
Tolkien, our consultant on the show, felt that was a really important character who merited further exploration. Yeah, and so he ended up having a larger story than we initially anticipated, and we are glad he did because we feel like Sam Hazeldine did such a great job season 2 bringing him to life in a way that's really strong.
Had this ring heal the rift between Elf and Uruk?
No, not. I hate that
No, it's not fucking.
That fundamentally destroys any kind of like that actually makes our characters in Lord of the Rings villains because orcs don't really have souls. They're more like automatons with some measure of their master's will into them. If they have personalities and wills, then and they're willing to make peace, that makes Aragorn a freaking genocide idol tyrant.
Thanks. We're ruining all of our favorite franchises. This cringing gay fucking mob. I love it.
We find it quite emotional.
Yeah.
When Adar dies, it's very strange, disturbing, but also heartbreaking somehow.
Don't tell me how I feel. Don't tell me how I feel about
So I'll
something.
do a double-handed.
Yeah. 3, 2, 1, action.
Can you clear this up for me? Is he Anatar or is he Sauron in the fight with Galadriel?
There's actually quite a subtle evolution.
I'm
of
sorry.
character.
I don't think that fucking Galadriel is going to stand much of a chance against Sauron. I'm sorry.
Yeah. It's so
Not in this way, anyways.
It's hard to say. So one thing about it is that with the One Ring, Sauron was much more powerful, but the One Ring has not been made yet. But there was elves have stood up to creatures that were of equivalent power to Sauron, and actually higher power.
They're greater, technically. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, for instance, Fingolfin in the First Age fought against Morgoth and made him bleed, and inflicted 7 wounds on him, and made him walk with a limp for the rest of his life.
What I meant by that is in this kind of context with Galadriel.
Yeah,
Galadriel's a fucking fighter. She would get BTFO'd.
Yeah, it should be magic, and it's kind of pathetic that they are so scared of making her a powerful magic user. Because that's what Galadriel is. Like, she is athletically fit, and it's kind of funny because Galadriel is, like, uber tall. Like, uber tall in the books. Like, she's 6'6".
As subtle as hammer to the face. Or a baseball bat to the ball sack.
Yeah. Yeah. They undermine what they did. They can't... Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
storytelling and the costuming and the performance that Charlie Vickers amazingly gives. Somewhere around the middle of the season, he's actually really just Sauron.
Is there any significance with Sauron?
I support this alternate timeline.
There are weapons in Tolkien that are invested with a special kind of power because of their proximity to evil. The Crown of Morgoth is literally the symbol of the most evil being in all of Middle-earth. The fact that Sauron have it refashioned and suited for himself, trying to take out that mantle of Dark Lord and then have that thing be turned into a weapon that you could use to stab a heroine, you got to believe that's something that's going to hurt. The whole season, in a way, is really about
things. Like, I have to comment on a couple of interesting things. Like, okay, so first of all, it's a weapon. It's not a crown, right? Like,
it's a hat.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's a symbol. Also, I don't know if this is them being hurt by the material they're limited to, but it is worth pointing out that, you know, I don't think he ever really called himself Morgoth. In fact, I don't know that Sauron ever even called himself Sauron. These are epithets. These are insulting names given them by the elves.
Yeah, since Morgoth means the black enemy or something along those lines.
Yeah, Morgoth's real name is Melkor. We all know that, right?
Yeah.
But
and Sauron's original name is Myron, meaning the honored one.
I don't even think that's his real name. That is also not his actual name. That's like a secondary name that he went by like temporarily.
So Sauron says Myron, his original name in Quenya, Gorthar, his name in Sindarin, which means the cruel, Gorthu, his name in Sindarin, which means mist of fear, Artano, Elendil, Aulendil,
Okay, yeah, that's probably closer. Yeah.
So there's a bunch of names.
Yeah, but I don't know if we actually know his real name. My point here is more that like there's some debate whether he actually calls himself Sauron ever.
Yeah, no, he forbids the use of the name Sauron in his domains, and the only one who seems to get that permission is the mouth of Sauron.
That's true.
And because Sauron means the abhorred.
Exactly.
And it's not and it's meant to be someone who is how do I put it? Someone who really doesn't like that name. It's kind of like a Voldemort in a way, only
the reverse.
Only more so, yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's optimal because Voldemort is like what he wants everyone to know him as, right? Mm-hmm. Sauron probably doesn't want people to call him that. Actually, it's actually kind of interesting to think about.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. I realize that like I'm going against the grain here, but like if there's one thing that like they've almost got right is it's that Sauron does not see himself as a bad guy.
No, I would agree. Sauron does not see himself as a bad guy. He sees himself. He's kind of. There is an element of his pride where he is saying.
Yeah, of course. No, yeah.
Like he's giving the middle finger to the god of this universe.
There's a level of spite to his character that even he's probably self-aware of, but like he thinks it's justified.
That the Elven Rings are here, what do they mean? And the whole season is exploring that Sauron brought some knowledge into their construction. Does that mean they're inherently tainted? And Elrond comes to believe that no. And Galadriel's bet that no. And by the end of the season, they're both united. These rings will protect us and protect the world.
And the moment when Elrond finally puts on the ring is one that we love. It's like an exorcism where Galadriel's very soul feels like it's in the balance, and Elrond makes this choice to finally trust his friend and say, no, the rings are good. And that shot where Rob Amayo looks down the barrel through the camera right at the audience, and you have this direct moment of communing with Elrond. And we were in editorial, we literally look at that shot, we said, hold it longer.
These faces, these performances.
Oh my gosh.
What a world. Blech.
Oh, I hate
This is mindless, just nothingness.
Yeah.
There's
at least that first part we watched had a little bit more to talk about. This just nothing.
Yeah.
At least you introduced me to the fucking cringy gay fucking fight scenes and the physics.
Yeah, true.
This is just these idiots who just jerk themselves off and tell like how great their writing is.
That is also a very good point. She apparently is immune to gravity. She literally yeets herself off a cliff with the ring, and apparently survives. Like, we see the fall. We see her go down, like, fall down the mountain. And let me actually pull that out because it's freaking hilarious. Galadriel versus Sauron. Let me see. Let me pull that up because that's really funny. Galadriel battles Sauron. Okay, where is it? Let me see. Galadriel falls. Let's see. The final thing where she falls off, and look just how high she is falling.
Oh god, the diversity hire. Forgot about him.
Yeah. And like, look how high that is. That is absurd. That is...
Well, she did.
Unfortunately,
Game over,
no.
boys.
Apparently, no. Apparently, no. It's... No. She is not, in fact, dead. She should be. It's freaking hilarious that she's not. Oh my gosh.
And again, Volcano from the first season. To tell us everything we need to know about that.
Yeah, sorry, go for it. I apologize. Could you run that by me again? Sorry.
Who?
You.
I said that the volcano scene from the first season that's to tell us how much they care about physics.
Yeah, and the fact that she a pyroclastic flow where it's basically she should be burned alive.
Be a cooked chicken nugget.
Yep.
Has lost the place he thought was the most beautiful place in the world. Somebody who has lost a Library of Alexandria-like thing. All of this is actually fostering in him someone who already has the idea of bringing cultures together.
That is the full record of Celebrimbor's works. The wisdom of all who ever dwelt in this place.
Its value is beyond jewels or even blood.
He's going to build a place of his own that'll learn from all those lessons. We know that when the dwarves get the Rings of Power, it doesn't impact them the way that Sauron had hoped. But what it did do to them is the rings inflamed their greed.
Well,
the lore gives...
Well, the funny thing is, you are escalating this to an absurd degree. That is happening so fast that it is comical.
Well, yeah, this is something that they can be blamed for, but I also understand why they made this mistake because they've compressed the timeline like way too much. Right?
Yes, you can't compress thousands of years of history into a year.
Yeah, they made a real and like you can kind of understand why you might want to do this for like a mass market show, but like it's a mistake. It's just a mistake.
Well, people watched The Tudors for 7 seasons.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not saying it's.
And they did the same with Vikings, even though those shows have like a lot of character inconsistencies throughout them. And you could have done this and not spent $1 billion, and they're continuing to throw money down the drain because nobody likes this. Their viewership numbers are dropping.
Yeah, good for them.
Us, the dwarves dug too deep and awoke a Balrog. The part of the opportunity and challenge of the show is like within that nugget, where's the story?
Come and see my son.
Feeling that inevitability is also part of what makes it dramatically satisfying.
No, it's not.
The Balrog is not a single event. It is an evolving season 1 we teased that.
Recognize that?
Ray, we're bringing this guy back.
he's down there and awakening. Season 2, the moment where Peter Mullen as the king, who we will miss enormously as a person, as a performer, leaps for the Balrog.
Yeah, whatever. Really
You
gay.
don't find this freaking hilarious?
Sacrifice
He
himself.
just jumps at the Balrog.
This was a visual that originated in the first writer's room 5.5 years ago, and we've been working to get to ever since. And then now the legacy of that, the empty throne, is going to weigh very heavily on Durin, on Disa, on Narvi, on the future of Khazad-dûm. We have big plans for the dwarves.
At the same time, we're doing all of this other stuff. We have Numenor.
Numenor has a really grand and important destiny and a tragic one, and Pharazôn's at the heart of all of it. And at the end of this season, Pharazôn, has come to believe that Sauron is extremely dangerous, has his eyes set on Numenor, and Pharazôn is acting defensively to prepare for what he sees as a coming clash.
Yeah. Survey says that's what I thought.
Oh, you'd think they might just completely just do their own fucking thing with the whole tidal wave.
So here's the thing. So so what happens in the show is that Sauron has had no interaction with Numenor. Nobody knows that Sauron is the Halbrand is Sauron on Numenor, and any connection that is made with our Pharazôn Lakina Palantir is so poorly explained that it's so dumb. That makes it so dumb that he is saying, "Oh, the reason why she survived the trial by Abyss, the trial by the sea, that apparently is for the Val, because it is appealing to the Valar, kind of like how in medieval times there was a trial by ordeal, you would say. And yet this is a surefire way to kill people, and yet Muriel survives. Our Pharazôn, and in this it's saying, yeah. And we have we have our Pharazôn, who seems to have gathered this information out of the ether, that apparently Sauron helped Muriel and was behind the whole deal with the Southlands expedition, the last one. Whereas in the book, our Pharazôn creates a huge armada, the biggest army that Middle-earth has ever seen. This army is so enormous and is made up of basically an army of Captain Americas.
Huge.
Like giant medieval space marines or Spartans. Spartans from Halo. And they go in, and the armies of Sauron piss themselves and run. And the reason why they do this is because Sauron is declaring himself the king of men. And because this is an affront to our Pharazôn's pride, he goes after Sauron, beats him, takes him prisoner, and brings him back to Numenor. Though this is admittedly his plan, from the Sauron's plan, like he wants to be on Numenor, and eventually he becomes the king's counselor and basically makes them fall into essentially devil worship, where they're sacrificing people to Morgoth a lot of the faithful. Like they build this giant temple of doom.
They build the temple of Melkor, right? And and it's this very it's this culmination of the theme of Numenor's and really the arc of their downfall, right? They go from being the greatest of men and the allies of the elves to being these these
despotic.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the word. Like they're these tyrants. They enslave. They colonize,
perform ritual sacrifice, human sacrifice.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Like they are doing, but remember they're doing that before Sauron gets there.
They were. I don't think that they were doing human sacrifice.
Not that. Right, but remember they're doing all the other stuff before then, right? They've conquered the coastlines of Middle Earth. They've conquered all sorts of coastlines. They've destroyed the forests of Enedwaith. They've done all that already, right? And then Sauron shows up, and finally he pulls that thread of, man, we're really afraid of dying, and he brings them around to worshiping Melkor. Like he brings out the absolute worst of what's already become a fallen people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fucking great. It's like the coolest thing ever. Now Farazan is just so much cool that you could do with Farazan himself. And they made him like so everything about Numenor is just lame.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really pathetic.
All so-called faithful are now declared traitors of Westerness.
The Farazan story has only just begun. The stranger at this point has been revealed to be Gandalf. He actually has to turn his back on what he thinks is power, getting his staff, and go and save his friends. And only by saving his friends is he then able to earn the right to fully get his staff, become a wizard, learn his name, and move forward.
In a sense, it's really Nori.
Oh yeah, I forgot to completely. You know that actually makes sense. They completely butchered Gandalf. It's like nothing like actual Gandalf in his origin, and then they're gonna do the same thing with Numenor. It can be nothing like it is in the source material.
Yeah, that's also a good point. They don't know that Sauron is Halbrand. They have no connection. It's really stupid.
No, that's dumb. Like
cringe.
He is the anchor of good. He lands in Middle-earth. He could go anywhere, and yet he chooses, and it seems like Nori is the guiding light.
Ironically, you could make an argument that it hasn't been to help him find his destiny, but for Nori to find hers.
Oh, ball! Sod off! Ugh, I hate these guys. Sod off.
The less time we give these people, the better, honestly.
She's off on a journey of her own that'll go unexpected places. But this was as important for her self-discovery as it was for his.
No, it wasn't. Bull!
Oh, I remember the hard foots as I was bored and wanted to fucking hit myself in the head with a fucking brick wall.
Look what you have done to yourself.
Two men are at the heart of the Rings of Power Season 2. Let's welcome them both back, Charlie Vickers and Charles Edwards. Charlie and Charles, you've both been sharing the screen all season. How gratifying and also heartbreaking is it to finally bring these two to this closing point?
Well, it's particularly heartbreaking for me because that's it. I'm done.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is a series release on Mr. Charles Edwards. Thank you very, very much.
This just makes me hate this show because Morpher Clark seems like she is like kind of a sweet person. Since like that was legit, that was very genuine. That was cute. That was like super wholesome and adorable. And yet her character is so bad. She's such a character. It could be just like maybe she's just not very good as an actress, but she doesn't seem like she's a bad person.
I can't judge it. This show's written like shit. I honestly don't know.
Very lucky.
Yeah.
And Christopher Lee look fucking like wooden in the prequels. It's like I can't really judge it on this. I need to see her in something that's better written.
True. Well, it's not even that she's wooden, it's that she is terrible. Like when there is a Tempest in me.
It sounds like a writing issue, honestly.
Yeah, true.
Because it's seen for most
Yeah, it could be a direction.
And we've had a wonderful time. And thank you. Bye.
It is heartbreaking for me, genuinely, because we had a truly wonderful time, the two of us, last summer, doing this together.
It was kind of the season was the two of us in a room, one set, talking.
The luxury also was shooting in order, which is, as you know, almost unheard of.
For a very good reason, because it creates problems. If you have, admittedly, you will have less problems with this than you would with something like Battle of the Bastards, where they lost the original ending because the showrunners incompetently didn't budget the time properly and thought that they could do 70 live horses charging without killing the horses. Freaking stupid. Freaking stupid.
It was just these guys for like 3-4 weeks, one director after another coming through.
It was really rewarding.
It was a real joy as an actor. Sauron still needs Celebrimbor because he doesn't have the rings. You know where they are. but
sure
you have
do.
goaded me so much that he can't resist. And I think it's anger and frustration, and also probably a bit of sadness and despair at losing someone that has become a close confidant and ally in this ring-making process. And let's not forget, there's also another ring that he's still got to make.
Yeah.
And he maybe could have done with a bit of help with that ring.
A little bit.
Well, yeah. As the scene goes on, you see actually Charles reclaiming his strength. And so he goes from victim to reclaiming his agency and having peace, and then finally to being able to become sort of the one who has the power in the scene.
Which is
as he's dying.
You are the prisoner, Sauron.
Lord.
Of the Rings.
No, we're not doing that. We're moving on.
Well, it was a beautiful tightrope that you walked all season, and you made a big impact.
Great, thank you. It was a joy to do.
Absolutely.
It really was. We have to also, because you talked about the ending, talk about Bear McCreary, I think. Our amazing composer. We talked with him about writing a piece for the end of the season, and for that final tableau, it's like kind of brought it all together in a way that was triumphant. There's been so many defeats. Our heroes have lost in so many ways. You want to end, we felt, with not just like, weirdly we're together and we're stronger than ever, but like, wait till next time. We're teeing up not just Rivendell, but the War of the Elves and Sauron.
That is the wrap. Well done, everyone.
I hate you people.
Here we are, 3 years later.
We reunited, having
It's
spent
so
season apart,
masturbatory.
and now we've just wrapped season 2.
It does seem like it does seem as though Morpha Clark and Charlie Vickers have like legit good chemistry, and like they seem like they're buddies, but it's so frustrating because like I think that, well, I don't know if Morpha Clark, part of it is Morpha Clark is tiny, and I don't think that she would be a good fit for Galadriel at all. I don't think she has the presence, and I think that they've drastically both miscast her and created a terrible character, because they should have gotten like somebody who's a little bit more physically imposing if they're going to do the Amazon route for Galadriel, which is still dumb. But she's been a sorceress for thousands of years at this point. It's absurd.
One thing that I sort of was curious, and I don't know enough to affirm this, but it seems like Galadriel became a better person in universe, but she seemed to have, she became a better person as Tolkien rewrote things through his story.
Yes, since there were a bunch of iterations where I think in the first iteration she took part in the kinslaying. In others, she fought against Feanor in the first kinslaying at Alqualande. And in others, like, she was stated that she was unstained. Also, the whole story of Celeborn and Galadriel went through many iterations to the point where Christopher Tolkien said, "This is giving me a headache. I hate this." In not so many words, but
it's one of those interesting things to think about, because like the original version of her is the one who is like, yeah, I do want the ring, and she has to pass that final test, and I do prefer the darker version of Galadriel who follows Feanor out of ambition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a much more interesting character. I would concur.
So like them giving her a harder edge is not strictly a bad thing, but like action hero Galadriel is not the way to do that.
It's the method of
exactly.
It's the fact that she is a hard-bitten warrior who seems to have inspired no loyalty or love from her underlings. That's the problem.
Exactly.
That is so fucking boring.
Mm-hmm.
Evil cannot create anything.
Could have been.
Reminds me of my favorite Tolkien quote. Evil cannot create.
Oh, the most ironic thing out of this entire fucking show. That is like the quote that everybody keeps using. Anytime you see anything from this show.
Everybody was just spamming that in the comments, like to the degree that Amazon was mass deleting comments, and the way they got around it was just putting it in different languages. It was just
Just put it in Elvish in the Black speech. Just to
Yeah.
turbo fuck with them.
Yeah, honestly, like it's hilarious because like this show is one of the biggest. This show and The Acolyte were some of the biggest failures of this particular brand of filmmaking and writing. Like from a like purely objective, we're not arguing quality of writing. We're just strictly metrics. The metrics for both of those shows were terrible. Like this show, like major failure of they sunk in a lot of money, a lot of marketing, but the viewership dropped by 100 million. That's really bad.
I'm stuck on this picture right here. I'm just thinking, like this doesn't look. This guy right here actually looks like a fucking elf, and I keep the armor bits, the metal bits, and just replace the shirt with a chainmail.
Yeah. Yep.
And yeah, a little bit more bits.
Yeah.
New. Feels like we did something exciting, something good. It's a great group of people, an incredible crew. Where are we headed? To the future, man. It's the quintessential battle of good versus evil. Right now, we're down. Back up.
Now we're at the war of Sauron and the elves, and everybody is scrambling to figure out how we're going to beat this guy. From east to west to north to south, all across the map. You know, it's all about figuring out what are we going to do about Sauron.
Well, thank you for being here. Congratulations on an incredible season. Thank you to all of our guests this season on Inside the Rings of Power. It has been my pleasure to journey inside Season 2 with you. So, until we hear news of Season 3, I'm Felicia Day, wishing you good night from Middle-earth.
Don't worry, I got middle fingers for both of you. Lean on them.
Yeah.
Are you fucking shitting me? Are you shitting me?
Uber faggot.
Yeah, that's kind of how I think of this. I'm just like, I hate these guys.
Yeah.
I hate these writers. Like they are, at least, here's the thing. At least Game of Thrones had 4 good seasons.
This can't be shitty from the outset.
Yeah, this was as bad as season 7 or 8 from the first season, and now it's gotten progressively worse.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to push back on that. As much as I hate the writing from the later seasons, at least it's turn your brain off popcorn shit at the later seasons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's just illogical garbage. This is, and there's like at least with season 7 and 8, the dialogue is not like it is in Rings of Power.
No, it's just very childish dialogue and very modern.
Yeah, something that I was kind of disappointed about.
It's not cringing gay Shakespeare.
Yeah, like, we will sweep them off this land like salt from a table. It's like, or I would not trade the chance to establish trade deals with the men and on Middle Earth for all the salts in the sea. It's like, what? It's so dumb. It's so dumb.
I feel like that one could work.
Yeah.
More editing.
Yeah, so one thing that I was kind of disappointed by was evidently what's his bucket? Dragon Demands didn't think the show was that bad.
Oh, he can cope and sneed.
I was very disappointed, to say the least. I was like, dude, wow.
There's some cognitive dissonance there. That's all I got to say. And I think it might have to do with the current yearisms.
Maybe.
I think it might have been drinking the Kool-Aid on that one.
Yeah, so let me pull up since he doesn't pull it, since I was really frustrated because he doesn't actually say anything substantive, which I was very, very frustrated by, which is Rings of Power was drastically better this season. Turned out due to long pandemic delays, season 1 was written before Amazon shifted away from the binge model, so it was placed like a long movie, then released after they shifted to episodic release. compare that to The Boys season 1 and 2 release, but Rings season 2 was written knowing it would be released episodically, so it was paced accordingly.
I see.
And I had to comment and like push back, and I was just like, this show is absolute freaking nonsense from beginning to end.
Did he respond back?
Nope, he did not. He did not. No. And they were kind of
all to me.
Yeah, and it's just kind of disappointing because he was one of the main guys, like championing, like Benioff and Weiss are morons, and to a certain extent, it's the same problem with these two chuckleheads.
It just shows that he really doesn't believe in what he says.
Which is so annoying. Because I like Dragon Demands. I don't want him to be like a part of the pro Rings of Power crowd. It makes no sense. Yeah, and admittedly he hasn't commented much on it.
Yeah, I wonder why.
But just the
it's honestly
I don't know of anybody who likes the show.
It's honestly the same thing with Ackman when it comes to like the wokeism stuff. He is not going to touch fucking Dragon Age the Veilguard with a 10-foot pole, considering his recent takes.
Yeah,
because that game, that shit is so fucking blatant in that game that if he actually had to touch it, he would have to bring that shit up.
Yep.
And he's gonna make himself look like an absolute fool.
Yeah, I'm not going to do Veilguard. I'm not. I bought the first 3 Dragon Age games. Admittedly, though, Dragon Age Inquisition apparently sucks. I was like, yeah, why not? Might have some fun gameplay.
It's a funny little trend I noticed. The people, the anti-woke crowd, are going rampant ever since that whole Andy Pants fucking debacle went down. But I noticed they've been really quiet about particularly Vanguard. I'm like, I wonder why. Maybe because it's so abrasive that they can't fucking spin it.
Yeah, I know that they were really trying to make a Black Myth Wukong, like
the fuck did you just say?
Black Myth Wukong.
It's a video game.
I'm grasping what you're saying. Don't worry, it's fine.
And they tried really, really hard to try and make the game not successful, and they were kind of throwing out this lame woke nonsense about it, like, oh, there's not enough women on the development team, and a whole lot of stuff like that. And like
gay,
and just mainly because it's an Asian studio. They don't care about that kind of thing.
Not yet.
Yeah, they hadn't got the fucking California virus.
I don't know. I very much doubt that they ever will, because I
have no incentive.
Way too steeped in their very, very traditional culture, and I don't. Unlike here, where it's kind of a cultural melting pot, Japan is not like that. Japan is very, very, very set, and they're not going to
They will outlast. They'll definitely outlast us because we're just fucking falling apart at the fucking wheelbase.
Not with their declining birth rates, they're not.
Yeah.
I would bet that their culture would last longer than this one. Because we're just falling apart.
I mean, don't worry, I'm not saying that it's a massive defense of American culture, but like, yes, if they can be resistant to the global American empire, they'll be fine. But they have to pass through the eye of the needle of, a disintegrating demography. Okay, Japan is not that much better than Korea, which is like, whew. That 0.6 birth rate is horrifying.
Yeah, I've been saying this for a while. Ever since we lost religion, we just lost all morality and shit.
Yes.
Materialistic.
No, yes. The everything that was said about like the cringe like late 90s, early 2000s takes. Oh, without religion, well, how would people be moral? And all the responses, well, people just be naturally. It was like this indignation about how people could possibly. How could people possibly?
I would argue to those people, how moral were the Indians or the African tribes?
No, I know. Look, you don't have to tell me that. But
no,
like,
I'm talking to the people, not you.
No, I know, but like everything that we were warned, everything that cringy, milquetoast, loser, like people who lost the debates. Everything they warned about it's just coming true. We threw away religion and it's completely imploded. It's completely imploded.
It's the French Revolution all over again.
Oh yeah.
Because that was, if you look at the differences between the French Revolution and the American Revolution, one of the problems was they were rebelling against the church along with the state. And because there was no singular religion in the U.S., they didn't need to discard their morals and create a whole new moral framework because they were rejecting the clergy, and they weren't rejecting the clergy, they were just rejecting the state. Because the clergy didn't have any power in the U.S. As compared to the actual state. So
maybe they're rejecting the democracy of England at the time.
Yeah, and they also didn't actually have these insane delusions about the incredible equality of all men. The original republic was, by which I mean the original American Republic was, constrained to, the political class of the country. You had to have land and shit to vote.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, mass democracy is such a good thing.
Yeah.
Bite me.
Yeah.
There should be poll tests from now to the end of time. Minimum.
I am pretty black-pilled honestly on the whole Republic thing as of late. I lived in the epicenter of fucking Sacramento, California. I live where everything went wrong with Western society.
I'm no Democrat. When I say I'm not a Democrat, I don't mean I don't mean the party. I mean the political philosophy. I'm no Democrat. Also, it's also worth pointing out, the ultimate, the far more fun. Okay, that's not the right word. But the far more amusing part of the decline is seeing the hubris of earlier art. My favorite, I never want to turn anything into a Star Wars stream, but just look at Star Wars and it's the sheer boomer inanity of the idea that a republic is more peaceful than a quote unquote empire, right? Republics and democracy are the most
unstable.
Not only unstable, those are the most warlike societies that we have.
Mm-hmm.
I know what you're going to say, and I'm just waiting for it.
Yeah, the three great republics of history: Rome, France, and of course the United States are incredibly militant. It's absurd.
In Athens, pretty warlike, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah. Athens is the famous argument against democracy. The what's called the Sicilian expedition during. It's you can't explain that except by the arrogance and the manipulate, the demagoguery that comes with a democracy. It's absurd.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, my political views have certainly shifted within the last 10 years. The last couple of months, in particular, have been very sobering word.
Yeah. With the presidential debate a few months ago, where
we have an angry orange guy, and then we have vegetable man.
Yeah.
And then we have NPC Harris versus Orange Man.
Yeah, where both options are bad. I don't like either of them.
Of course not. Who actually, like, no one, the secret is that no one really likes either candidate. They don't like the other candidate, nor that's part of, the other secret of democracy is that, like, eventually it doesn't become about policy. It becomes about who can act, who can, like, the term would be activate, who can, like, get more people to vote, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who can get more people to the polls. That's all that matters.
I've been arguing with people on Discord about this very topic, and then some people will try to shoot back at me like, "Oh, we just need to do the system like Starship Troopers," but I'm like, I'm thinking about that long term. Like that still changes literally nothing. The fundamental issues.
Heinlein's whole problem there is right. It's more like it's like this uber. It assumes again this sort of like completely like it assumes what we could call like it still assumes like a technocratic state, and the idea that the people who rule are the people who like they're the most capable in some sense. Now that's not entirely true because of the way the system is set up in Starship Troopers, but there's still like this. There's still like this. There's this assumption about a universal humanity, which, again, debatable. And there's also this, like, it sort of, like, assumes that, like, a political elite can sort of, like, they can just sort of, like, spawn out of a meritocratic ether, right? It's not quite right. It has to be, like, deliberate, like, a political elite, like, that's good in the sense that they're, like, they're loyal to their constituency, let's say. Has to be like very carefully curated, right? Part of the purpose of religions is not that they're not the opiates of the masses. They're the constraints on the elite. That's the secret. That's the secret of religions. The religion is the thing that tells the warrior, you cannot fight in the sacred space. That's the secret. Mm-hmm. It tells the merchant that there's things that you can't sell.
Yeah, it's kind of the idea that you can't human traffic, for example.
Exactly.
You can't just kill people with impunity.
Exactly, right? It tells, it tells, that's what I'm saying, right? Like religion is the thing that cleaves out the sacred, right? It makes the powerful respect it, right? It accounts for the mighty, not the meek.
And it also gives people a more of a better framework to like, well, not even just that, but like a sense of duty almost. Like if like the people you are ruled over you're better equipped to hold them accountable.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's like levels to this thing, right? Like if you have a frame of reference to know that there's a morality beyond your political sovereign, right? Not to turn everything into a Game of Thrones reference in my utter hatred of Rhaenyra, but like it matters that she's lying, right? It matters that you like speaking truth to power matters when powerful people lie, right?
It's kind of like one of the issues. I'm going to bring it back to Game of Thrones even earlier. The blowing up the church was like
a major
uber fucking like turbo tard game over.
And yet it never has any consequences because they didn't actually consider they didn't actually consider this will create major problems.
That's a function of like bad world. That's a function of like bad world building being drawn from like a more secular mindset.
Because like considering the fact what happened during there was riots in King's Landing in the earlier seasons.
Yes.
Over. Yeah. Go ahead. Continue.
No, yeah. I mean, like, right. Okay. So like, this is where I get a little frustrated. Like,
this is not a complacent crowd of people.
Yes. Yeah, there's like levels of bad writing that go into that, right? First of all, it's incongruent with what we know about King's Landing populace. from within the show, right? That alone would make it bad writing, right? That it's not cohesive with itself, right? And then you have the fact that these are people who are willing to riot over bread. They should be willing to riot over the church getting blown up, right? That's that's where this exists. And then you get into things like they're willing to like them being willing to riot over bread shouldn't be taken as a unilateral affirmation of not their political agency, but their political. I'm almost saying correctness, but but their political validity, right? Just because let's say that they were starving, like even in the book, let's use the book as example, right? They're starving, right? They're being starved, they're riot primarily because they're starving, right? And they're also fed up with the Lancers, right? They're not just fed up because they're starving. They're fed up because they're starving, and when they go to the castle to ask for some scraps of food or whatever, Joffrey shoots crossbows at them, and that's not in the show like it should be, but it is, right? They're mad at the fundamental betrayal of the social contract, the feudal contract, the obligations of leaders to their subjects, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean that they're all the people aren't always right. We should never take that line. It's why it's when people quote the stupid Jorah quote about how the peasants don't care about who sits on the pointy chair. They care about having they care about a summer that never ends and fertile fields.
That's a very 21st century mindset.
It's not just a 21st century mindset. It's also a wrong mindset, because you should care a lot about who rules you. A lot. The fact that they don't care is what makes them peasants, and it's what makes their political concerns ultimately subordinate to the nobles.
I think this comes. I think that actually might have been a bit of projecting on the writer's behalf, because I think that's kind of coming from that Western United States mindset.
Yeah, it's in this case it is George. This is George. Because that's a George line.
Yeah.
It's not a Song of Ice and Fire line.
Then he would be the writer and be the one responsible for that.
Yeah, that is. I am criticizing Martin. I'm not criticizing Game of Thrones. I know I'm criticizing I know I'm making
the whole thing.
At Martin. I know when I'm criticizing Martin, and this is one of my criticisms. And I think that he is struggling. Okay, so I realize I've gone very far afield here, but I do think that part of the reason he has not been able to finish the fucking books is because he cannot reconcile that he has written a story where politics does matter, right? Because the original thesis of Song of Ice and Fire was that there's this coming apocalypse, and the political squabbling has distracted people from that apocalypse. And instead, the story he actually wrote is a story about how there is this corruption in the heart of power in the realm, in the nation, or whatever you want to call it. And I know Westeros is very big to be a nation. Who cares, right? There's this corruption in the heart of power in the realm, and it reveals this deep, existential, catastrophe at the heart of human society. And it's this attempt to grapple and reconcile it that drives the story. And it's so good. And it's so clearly not what he intended to write. And it's so clearly what he's struggling with. Because in that framework, John is the true protagonist. Stannis is clearly the supporting he's the sort of the half decoy, half mentoring quotes, half supporting protagonist. He's clearly the Aragorn role, even though he's because he himself is not sufficient, right? And that's clearly what the story is about. And like the Lannisters, of course, take like center stage as like the decadent family that like lives in like the heart or like the guts of power, right? And it's the story of it's the story of the destruction of themselves and like the wider society they dare to try to rule over, right? It's very Macbeth and Hamlet and King Lear. And the White Walkers are totally superfluous to this. They make a nice like ticking clock on the scenario to like give it like tension, but they don't fucking matter. Like who cares? Like who gives a fuck about the White Walkers when the moral drama of the story is right? It's right there. It's right with the Lannisters. It's right there. And don't even get me started on Daenerys and the Targaryens. That's a whole other argument. Daenerys and the Targaryens.
Well, I think that we should call it good there.
Yeah, that's fine.
And I think that we should end it like we started it, with our thoughts on the final season, the final episodes, the inside the episodes, and all that. And I just had to say one thing.
Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.